Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles, a business strategy podcast where we provide insight to those looking for creative, executable strategies built around the latest disruptive ideas, innovative cultures, product creators, and marketing solutions. Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. This week we're going to talk about a little bit further on a book I just released last year. Was blessed to have an Amazon bestseller as a reader's favorite award winner, top marketing book for 2022. So it's from the Visionary brand, the success formula behind the world's most visionary brands. And what we're going to talk about a little bit further today is brand loyalty. We talked about premium positioning on the last podcast. And what I want to talk about is what's this concept of the loyalty loop. And what I say is understanding this loyalty loop is very important to a brand's long-term generational success. And I love a quote by Zig Ziglar a while ago where he was talking about the foundation of success and loyalty. And he had mentioned the foundation stones for a balanced success are honesty, character, integrity, faith, love, and loyalty. I love that quote from Zig Ziglar. So in brand loyalty, this loyalty loop that we talk about is extremely important, especially when you look at where we're at today with e-com business, D2C business, taking over the bulk of how brands are selling their product today. It used to be predominantly through retailers, and they were what I call beholden to these retailers to build the lifestyle experience of their product they were intending to have as a marketing machine or as a brand. So what we look at with the loyalty loop is, brands that understand the value, let's say, of a customer and how to provide what I say value beyond selling product are the ones that become generational, not transactional. Now, that's a very key point we'll talk about today in the podcast is the difference between being generational and providing a lifestyle experience versus being transactional. And what you'll find with premium brands is they build a lifestyle experience and they're not transactional. For the most part, all commodity brands are transactional. They have the lowest price point. Their point of difference more often than not is really just price point. It's not performance. It's not anything to do with the product. It's effectively many times either a knockoff of a premium product or it's just something that's sold at a lower price point with similar functional or performance characteristics. And I say similar, but not the same. And the reason for the lower price point is that they don't market. They're not a brand. So the loyalty there is very difficult for them to achieve. So when we look at this loyalty loop, first, an authentic strategy is very important around how you'll provide value consistently and genuinely is vital to building loyalty with your community. And I say these two words by design. Consistency means that you're doing it over and over again. You've established a vision for your brand of who you want to be, how you're going to do it, and where you're going to sell your products, and how you're going to engage with your community to build loyalty beyond selling your product. So you notice I didn't say customer, but community. And we want this to be a community loyal to your brand and your products. So in saying that, you don't want them to be customers. I get it. They're customers, but you're looking to build a loyal community. Those that engage with the brand as a whole are the ones that are loyal to your brand long term and allow you to sell your product for generations. So it's very important to understand the difference between being transactional versus building a community with your customers. So again, I say customer versus community. So brands, what I find in working with them with Liquid Mind is that brands that understand and get it, the leaders of the brands who have a vision, they understand the difference between the two. And they're the ones who understand how their product affects a community. And I'll give you a great example is, let's say, I'm just going to use this as an example, Adidas or Nike on football category. they have certain performance characteristics that's safe for their football cleats. So they also know that in order to build let's say a market share growth in this particular category, they're going to need a loyal community of football players at all levels that they sell the product to. So when you look at that, the trickle-down effect, this is the reason that they put so much money into the NFL. The NFL is obviously a great influencer of communities. And when they see players on the NFL wearing their cleats, obviously, there's an authentication to that because the athletes that are wearing them are the highest level athletes in the world. So the trickle-down effect is then the NCAA carries it. Those that are on the sidelines want to wear that, D1A, D1AA, whoever it happens to be. And then that trickles down into high school and Pop Warner. So it's a community build around authentication. So there's many different ways that you can do it. But again, it's consistently, you're not doing it one way one day and then differently the next day. You're consistent in all that you do. So you're building a community of customers loyal to your brand as a result of a continual flow of premium products, whether they be incremental or disruptive, that they allow you to build your community and gain a performance edge or an enhanced lifestyle experience. And this could be football, this could be run, this could be swim, whatever it happens to be, you want to provide value beyond the product. So when we talk about the loyalty loop, marketers before we had this loyalty loop, it's the traditional funnel of having these buyers make a decision, or these, let's say, customers in this case, non-community, make a decision on, let's say, a run footwear that they wanted to buy. So they were out there in stores, looking at different products, talking to the sales reps in the store, and then trying to make a decision. And once they've made the decision, they then purchase the product, and the retailer then moves on to the next customer without any back-end loyalty post-purchase. So that's all completely changed and flipped on its head. And the challenge that we've always had as brands, when I was with the brands of Oakley, K-Swiss, and TaylorMade, and Adidas, the challenge that we always had with the retail end of the business is that we had a certain way that we were marketing the brand. And this was a challenge when we were working with retailers because there wasn't always an alignment with how we want the brand represented in the store. And I'm sure many of you have seen it, that a premium brand isn't always necessarily merchandised as a premium brand. So that was always a challenge. And the other challenge that we had is the transaction that I just talked about, is a customer would purchase our product and we get it, that the retailer then would need to engage with that customer post-purchase, AKA loyalty loop. Well, that didn't happen until brands, what I call, controlled our destiny. And this is what I talk about with brands and leaders of companies through Liquid Mind all the time, is that I said you can now control your own destiny. You don't necessarily need to lean on retailers to sell your product. Yes, marketing spend will be significantly more, but you have a higher gross margin in order to absorb that marketing spend. So when you look at brands that have built their generational success, the foundation for that going forward, let's say, is going to be in your ability for customers to be loyal. Another word for this too also is customer lifetime value. If you have a transactional customer that spends $100 with you every year versus a customer that rotates through your products, committed to your brand, and is loyal to your brand because of how you engage, it could be 3-4 times that amount. So make a choice of how you want to do it, and why I say it's so important to understand this loyalty loop. And as I previously mentioned before, a great example of this was Ralph Lauren. Is that where he said, we are selling a lifestyle, not a product. And this rings so true today, is that brands that are premium, brands that have built a community of loyal customers, this is so true that they are selling an experience. They're not selling a product. Everybody's got footwear. Adidas has it, Skechers has it, Nike has it, Reebok has it. So when you look at finding your point of difference, yes, performance is important, but it's even more important for you to position your brand as a brand. And I talk about that as well through the visionary brand, is that you, just because you say you're a brand doesn't mean you are a brand. You have to have a vision. You have to have a strategy around how you're going to build yourself as a brand. And this takes a very long time. The brands I'm talking about are generational for a reason, but you could probably count on your right hand on footwear and apparel companies how many are truly generational. Think about that. You know, generations ago, how many footwear and apparel brands were there? You know, maybe several hundred. And it just goes to prove, even if you are big, doesn't mean you're not subject to failure. You truly are if you don't have a correct strategy, you don't stick to your vision, and you don't adapt to the market. And one of those big adaptations that people are doing the last, even pre-COVID, COVID just happened to expedite it, was that they never had D2C business to worry about. They were always loyal to their retailer, but by design now through COVID, you had to switch and adapt to this D2C market. So again, before this D2C ecom, brands were beholden to retailers to provide what we call this ultimate lifestyle experience you were hoping your community would be loyal to over generations. But the problem you always had with that is that they were transactional and not lifestyle experience orientated. So instead, it became kind of this retail buying experience, you know, without any value beyond product. In other words, it's just transactional. So brands have adapted to that, and those that have a very distinct, consistent value proposition that they're giving to their customers post-purchase, even pre-purchase. You know, when you have a customer, a retained customer on lifetime value, the intent there, as we talked about, is two things. One is lifetime, one is value. And most commodity brands will look at it as a transactional value, but we look at it as a lifestyle experience value. It's our job as brands and beholden to make sure that we provide value to our customers. If we're going to give them a pair of football cleats, indicate to them how it makes them a better athlete. How is it different than the other shoes that are out in the marketplace? Now, just by design, Nike and Adidas, the three stripe, the swoosh, Under Armour, these guys are going to have a competitive advantage. But listen, it didn't happen overnight. Read Shoe Dog from Phil Knight. You can see how long it took Phil to build Nike. It wasn't an overnight success. This takes generations to build, but also they're around for generations because Phil stuck to his vision of what he felt Nike was, or was going to be and wanted to be, even though they weren't that yet. So before brands embraced the loyalty loops, customers were kind of shoved through this, what we call purchase funnel. Marketers would always look for, hey, let's try and engage as much as we can pre-purchase. Let's give them a point of difference. Let's give the information to the retailers so they can make a buying decision. And when they do, we're going to move on to the next customer. And that next transaction is not build lifetime value. So today, brands, you can't afford not to disengage after the purchase. You have to engage with your customer. It's crucial to your long-time success. So this is when brands must proactively provide value beyond product. And I say proactively because part of that vision, if you say you're going to be a premium brand and a brand by design, that there's a lot of pieces of that puzzle that you need to have in place before you become a brand. And that is all built around being proactive in all that you do and consistent in all that you do and authentic in all that you do. Another great example when I talk about authentication, and brands need to understand this, is that if you're a run brand and a little thing like a ad or a commercial where you don't have an authentic runner in your ad or an authentic runner on your TV commercial, that damages your brand beyond belief because your community is then confused that are authentic runners that are trying to get to be better runners now see an athlete that's, number one, not an athlete, and number two, is not a runner. That's a complete disconnect with building loyalty with your consumer. So your community expects authentication and they expect it consistently, and they want them to have value that helps them become a better runner, a better football player, whatever it may be. So when we look at this, today, again, we said brands can't afford to disengage after purchase. This is when you have to proactively engage. And so what does this look like? And when we said with the loyalty loop, there's really three principal components to the loyalty loop, which occurs post-purchase. And it also occurs as kind of this cycle post-purchase when I say after purchase, and then the cycle regenerates itself again. You're continuing to engage, providing value. So really it's three simplistic things, but very complicated when you look at how to execute it in the marketplace. One is enjoy the product. When I say enjoy, that's the key word there, is enjoy the product. And what I mean by that is that people need to have a comfortable shoe. People need to have comfortable apparel. People want it to fit properly as it's shown in the pictures. They want it to perform as you've shown it on the commercials. So you want them to enjoy the product. You don't want it to be a pain in the ass and something that's a misrepresentation of the product that destroys trust, which is a piece of loyalty and building a community. You can imagine if you've got a product that doesn't match the promise, and with how social media and communities are today, how fast that spreads is lightning fast. So first is enjoy the product. The second is if you enjoy the product, we want you to, what we say, advocate. Go out there and promote the product. Tell other people about it. But we talk about advocating the brand. One is that if you enjoy the product, it performs like it says, then you're going to advocate for the brand. But the brand has to understand that the customer isn't doing this for free. Reward them. Find ways to engage. Value is one thing. Value can be, by the way, discounts. It can be giving them information, a white paper on how to run properly, or how to become a better marathoner, whatever it may be. That's value. So advocating the brand is second. Third is bonding with the community. So enjoy, advocate, bond. Bond is that you understand the needs of your community. Now, Nike is a great example. I use them, Adidas could be Adidas, could be Puma, whoever it is. I just use Nike as an example, which is an awesome example of how they've grown from nothing to who they are today. It's just an incredible story. And so when you look at engaging or bonding with the community, it's really runners, football players, basketball players, whatever it is, your category of product, and bonding with those within that category on how to become a better basketball player. It could have nothing to do with your products. As a matter of fact, that makes you even more authentic if you're providing a basketball player information on how to become a better free throw shooter. I mean, it has nothing to do with the product, but it's value beyond product. So brands that understand community and context of why it's imperative to create, grow, and authentically engage will be rewarded with significantly, and this is a key term, higher lifetime customer value. It's just a fact that that's going to happen. So it's a fact you can provide value to your community that will allow them to become a better runner, a better swimmer, a better triathlete, a better football player, or any sport. Walking, where improvement makes you more competitive. This is a key to a brand success. Everybody wants to become a better swimmer, a better athlete, whatever it may be. So when you look at that, you want to make sure that you're authentic. And bonding with your community is just that. It's out there working with your community, providing value to them. It could be even where you have a coach and maybe you've got an event where you're going to provide that coaching free of charge to your community. That's just part of the process in building and bonding. So anything you can do to make your customer a better athlete and also better at whatever they bought your product to do. Again, it could be walking, it could be badminton, it could be anything. So, and guess what? This additional value has nothing to do with the product for the most part. You already sold your product, but how are you going to build a loyal community? And again, we talk about enjoying the product, advocating the brand, and then bonding with your community. And, it has to do with providing support to use the product effectively with no ulterior motive, meaning that you're not consistently bombarding them with emails, buy our product, buy our product. It should be something that if they're loyal enough that they will buy your product, that they will want to purchase your product. So as a brand, don't be so short-sighted that you lose your community to gain customer lifetime value versus a transactional customer. So you want that lifetime value, but you want to earn it through the loyalty loop. So enjoy the product, advocate for the brand, and bond with your community. Provide value beyond product. Think of all the things that you can do as a brand to provide value to your customer. That will also build trust, and it will build loyalty. And become community-focused versus transactional, and authentic in everything you do, and you will succeed. So as I always say, stay true, stay authentic, be different, and be great, and enjoy your journey. Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. I look forward to our next podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Visionary Chronicles podcast today. Always appreciate your time. I know how busy everyone is these days, but I wanted to also let you know if you have any comments or anything that you would like to let me know about, I would certainly appreciate it. I get a lot of emails from people listening to the podcast. You can reach out to me at Bryan, Bryan, at liquidmindsite.com, liquidmindsite.com, Facebook at Bryan Smeltzer 33. Also Instagram, Bryan_SMELTZER, and Twitter at Bryan Smeltzer. So anything you would have comments, would appreciate you subscribing to the Visionary Chronicles. We would certainly appreciate it. We were also voted recently through FeedSpot top 70 marketing podcast globally, as well as top visionary podcast. So very proud of that as well. So again, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Look forward to the next Visionary Chronicles.